would like to introduce Nkosinathi. I literally met him a year ago in Pietermaritzburg, actually. He flew all the way up for the conference we did there. Much like the residential week, just squished into 3 days, so you can think that was really intense. But yeah, he does amazing work. And now I will read you what he actually does. So Nkosinathi is the church leader for Heartlines Fathers Matter project. He specifically works in mobilizing communities and churches towards the journey of men taking ownership, responsibility, and actively participating in raising their children. That's the solution to so many problems our society has. He's passionate about community development and social cohesion. Nkosinathi has worked in youth development spaces for over 20 years, including Students Christian Organization. He's also involved in both national and regional sports ministry initiatives, which started with the 2010 World Cup. Great place to start with sports ministries or World Cup. It's in South Africa. Back that, very strategic. He mentors many young leaders, sports people, and other emerging leaders in Southern Africa. He studied public administration and has an honors in community development. Nkosinathi is an ordained pastor for over 20 years, leading a church called Khanya Community Ministry in Khayamandi Stellenbosch. Super exciting. And also Khayelitsha. Nkosinathi has been married for over 20 years to Mandisa Mdlala. Michael's was very rusty. But anyway, he's married to a beautiful wife and they're raising 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. So yeah, you guys can put your hands together for Nkosinathi and the rest. I'm just going.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you so much. Greetings to everyone and greetings to people online as well. As mentioned, my name is Nkosinathi Sixabayi. For the first time, Steph's father was able to pronounce my surname. I was so excited. In America, they say it's Sixabayi and they say Mr. Six. So yeah, I'm with Heartlines, as she has mentioned. My focus is really on mobilizing people, especially the church, towards bringing back the fathers. In the book of Malachi, chapter 4, verse 6, as the Old Testament closes, it's interesting that this is one of the last verses in Old Testament. It says, from verse 5, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord." And verse 6, the major responsibility and assignment of Elijah was and he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the land with a curse. Isn't it interesting that the Old Testament closes with a warning? It closes with a warning, and because the hearts of the fathers were far away from the children, and the hearts of the children were far away from the fathers. And so this is where we find ourselves in South Africa, and that's why this assignment for us is so critical. Promoting the active, positive presence of men in the lives of children. And we're very intentional in saying men because there are fathers who are absent. I think we've seen the statistics. We'll probably go through them later. We've seen the statistics. There are fathers who are absent. But the reality is that it does not take away the need for men to be present in the life of children. There are fathers who are in prison. There are fathers who have died for tragic reasons. And there are fathers who have just run away. But that does not take away the need for the presence of men in the life of children. And we did a research, and it showed us a couple of things. And we can go to the next slide. We'll just play this video.
My dad never misses an opportunity to say, you're gorgeous, you're intelligent, you are everything in a bag of chips. Having my dad around was so important because he taught me what I'm worth from the perspective of a male.
He has given me a lot of strength.
Becoming a father, wow. God, thank you for the opportunity and the privilege of being a father.
I try to change things. I want the best for my kids.
My grandpa is very nice and I love him.
It's a great joy to be a grandparent.
In the work that I do with offenders, you can see that there's a huge gap that is missing. Like you see that a father figure is needed for them to be better persons.
If I could be a tenth of what my father was, I'll probably be the best father in the world.
So thank you so much. So basically we're saying positive presence of men in the lives of children are so critical. Underline this positive, number one, because if there's a presence of men that is negative, then it does not help the situation. And secondly, active, because it's one thing to be a father and not be active in the life of children. Let's continue. So we did a bit of research and before the project, and what we discovered, a few things. I think there's a lot of research that has been done. According to research, children grow up without the active, positive presence of men in their lives are at significant risk. And I think Ben has already mentioned some of them. And we working together with World Needs a Father. And here is some of them. Number one, being victims or perpetrators of violence, including gender-based violence. So in other words, children who don't have the presence of a male in the home become victims of violence. And all perpetrators of violence, those who have had a negative experience of the father. And some of this was assigned to the fact that, and we discovered that mothers don't tell some of the children who their father is. And because of that, there is this anger towards women. And this displaced anger either towards the father or towards the mother. And this is one of the things that we picked up from. And the next one, drug and alcohol abuse, or obvious. The next one, that's one, mental health disorders. We had issues of suicide. A lot of young people that commit suicide are coming from fatherless homes, which is very sad. Teenage pregnancy, and poor education outcomes and economic outcomes because they drop out of school. Because they drop out of school, the likelihood is that they are not going to have good economic outcomes. So this is why do fathers matter. Let's go on. I think the statistics, when we did this, it was 60%, and it has already increased to 65%, as we heard from Ben, as well as explaining it. Let's move. Here are some of the barriers that we picked up. A nuclear family is no longer a norm. And we assume that, I think we saw the statistics earlier, that the whole issue of mother, father, and children is no longer a norm. There's a lot of cohabitation, there's a lot of things that are happening. Low marriage rate in South Africa. And this is where the church really needs to be playing a significant role. We need to encourage, we need to encourage our young people to get married. Simple. And the church is one of the key instruments that can play that role. Low marriage rate, let's just push young people to get married. High levels of unemployment, and I think we've seen in our country with high rate, and which then leads to migration. So there's a lot of fathers that live in different provinces, and the families living in different provinces. because of migration. The legacy of apartheid, and as we know that the whole issue of people working in mines, that still lingers on even today. And that's still an issue. Let's go. And the Fathers Matter has identified a few, following barriers. One is the knowledge gap. Men don't know how important a father is. It's amazing, we take it for granted that men know how important a father is. But a lot of men, they don't know how significant and important they are in the lives of children. And therefore, this responsibility is shifted to women to raise children. As long as I provide money, that's it. I'm not involved. Provision, believe that men's only role is to provide financially. In some circles, there is a sense that, if he does not provide, then he's not a father. And if he cannot provide, in some circles, actually, fathers are called ATMs. Right? So if he cannot provide, and because men believe this, therefore they don't want to engage, they don't want to be involved in the lives of their children, okay? Skills. Many men do not know how to engage or connect with children. It was interesting, we facilitated a session in one church, and it was fathers and their young boys, fathers and their boys. It was interesting how many fathers confessed, pastors were confessing, I just don't know how to connect with my child. I want to have a conversation, but I don't know how to connect. And so I think as a church, we need to create these platforms where we equip fathers on how to. It's interesting that when you there's one aspect where we are not trained, right? If you are going to drive, you are given a license, right? You go to a school and you study, and you go to university. If you want to be a doctor, you don't want a doctor, right? That has not gone to school, right? But when it comes to parenting, there is no school, but you are expected to be a father. So resources that are appropriate. Let's move. And here is one of the things that we found, especially in the Black culture. Cultural practices such as damages and lobola have become obstacles. In some cultures, you are not allowed to see your child until you pay the damage to the family. And yet the first 1,000 days of a child, which is about 2 years to 3 years, and I think Ben has explained this as well, are so critical in the life of the child. And yet most men are not allowed to have access to their children because of cultural practices. And we're engaging people and saying, there needs to be a conversation around this. Because the ills that you see in our society is because men do not have access. And with a high rate of unemployment, where do you get the money to pay the damages? So if I'm unemployed and I need to pay damages, I will not have access to my child because culture dictates so. All right? Here are some of the themes that we picked up. A father's responsibility is more than providing money. All right? The second one is women should encourage fathers to play a positive role in the lives of children, especially when people are not married. What we discovered is that women and families can be gatekeepers. They are the gatekeepers in terms of access for fathers to their children. And in some cases where there's a case of divorce or something like that, women can use children as a weapon to fight their battles. And this is why when we engage in these workshops, we not only engage men, we engage women, because children are not looking for money. Children are not looking for all the things. Children are looking for their father's attention and love and affection. Father's involvement can promote the well-being of the children. It's very important that the father is involved or men are involved in their life. There are improved social health and educational outcomes when there is shared attachment, especially in the first 1,000 days. And research has proven this, that children who have a healthy environment become much better socially, but also academically perform better. Both women and men can learn how to care for children, skills of parenting. And I think this is where focus on the family comes in. Skills of shared decision making. And this is in a case where Parents, I mean, there's one movie that one film that we created called Airwalker, and how the absence, the shared decision between parents who are divorced can affect the child. You know, and this is so crucial because the growth of a child is so important. All right? Social fathers can make a positive difference. And when we talk about social fathers, this is where the church comes in. Social fathers, where children don't have a father, social fathers step in. And I mean, I'm speaking from experience. There's a lot of children that I'm fathering at the moment, besides my own children. I'm journeying with a number of young people. And one of those from Khayelitsha has been, actually I was speaking to him this morning, has been amazingly successful. He went to study in the US. He's now working there because a social father stepped in. And he's doing and is pastoring a church in the US. So social fathers play a significant role, and the church is one of the only platforms that can create healthy social fathers. And this is where the grandfathers can also play a role. If you're a grandfather and you think that your time is up of being a parent, think again. Because this is where grandfathers step in and can play a significant role. Supportive social networks such as the church can promote healing for people who have a father wound. There's a lot of people who are walking around with father wounds. And this is where the church can step in and bring about healing. All right? We created these 6 films because we believe in storytelling as Heartlines. So edutainment is one of the ways in which we communicate, because when people see the story in a film, then they begin to relate with it, and then we create discussions. So we created these 6 films, which we did in conjunction with SABC, and it was amazing how people responded, you know. And this is how the church. You can just play the clip there. Yep.
So your father is a very important person.
Yeah, he's always busy. It sucks.
Scholarship.
It's a issue kamoso. It fa wana challenge ga.
Don't mess this up, okay?
Your circumstances does not dictate your destination.
Go lo sanagela gore ke na le wena mo ngwanaka. Ke tla be ke go eletša leina la gago tla bona gana gore ke nna ke tee ka mo stadium mo.
Did you ever go camping with your dad?
How we respond to circumstances can either take us down a dark path of self-destruction or a path of growth and self-discovery.
If you were there, I wouldn't have found myself staring at a bottle of pills, wondering if every man I ever loved would leave me.
What's it gore o ka kitima go feta mo ngwanaka?
Kanje provide.
Breathe ngwanaka, have.
He needs a tough approach, Lynn.
Thome ka matla.
Sa marantanya na hawa, at least 20 let's all let's sa bona hali.
Fetche ka matla.
Wa tseba mpho e kgolo ka ifang zenzile ko ba teng ha hao.
It's not that simple.
It is that simple.
Amazing 6 films that have been aired on SABC, and you can actually go online and view them. Let's continue. Sorry. Oh, you want someone wanted to take a picture. You can go online and sorry. But we created a discussion guide so that when you watch the film, you can have a discussion guide after that. You can have some questions and some conversations. It's amazing what this has done in many families and in many fathers, like, oh, wow, that makes sense. All right, let's move on. Here's something that we did in this last June 16 in Soweto, and let's just take a lesson at Soweto Bikers Association.
can't describe that feeling. It's an undescribable feeling. You know, when you are on your bike, when that wind blows, it feels as if it's taking away all your problems. Once you get on this baby, trust me, you forget about all those things.
The thrill of being on this thing is just unimaginable.
I tried golf, and it wasn't for me. I bought a bike and I got onto it, and it was like the adrenaline rush and everything. I promise you, if I don't get on this bike in 2 weeks, I'm miserable.
Most people think of us as bikers as gangsters.
This campaign is removing the idea that bikers are not fathers.
My name is Kumbuzo Mbata, and within the biking fraternity, I'm known as Soft Touch. Most young boys here in the township grow up without fathers, you know, or father figures. So we just want to be that father figure, not someone that they can look at and admire from a distance, someone that they can actually touch, have a conversation with.
We decided to partner with Heartlines Fathers Matter so that these young boys can be mentored enough to stay away from the street, you know, because now lately they take drugs at a very tender age. Why? Because they don't have father figures in their lives.
Bikers are fathers as well, and they are trying to really show that they are like any other father.
Him and I are best friends. We talk about anything and everything under the sun.
He is one of a kind. I respect him. He guides me. He's my go-to. It's such a blessing, you know, being a father.
I'm giving him all the best that I can. Being a father is the best.
It's the camaraderie of the fraternity of bikers. It's another way of bringing fathers back together with their sons.
It doesn't have to be biking. You can be doing something different. You can hike with your father.
Today I'm here, I'm with my father, you know, I'm with actually 3 generations. My grandfather is around as well.
The most important thing about biking is actually the brotherhood. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. It's unbelievable. All of us in our club are fathers. Responsible. Responsible. There you go.
Very interesting campaign to be with these guys. All they're doing is boom, boom. But it's amazing how for the first time some of them were playing with their children. And it might something that we take for granted, but it's quite simple. Let's go. So that's the WhatsApp number. Here's another one that we did with Stellenbosch. Oh, sorry. We did another one with Stellenbosch.
My name is Devin Titus. I'm 22 years old. Play with Stellenbosch FC, and I'm a attacking player. Football is my getaway. If I have problems at home, step onto a pitch and everything goes away. My name is Olwethu Makanya. I play centre back for Stellenbosch. Soccer has been something I've always wanted to do because it makes me very happy.
My name is Nkosinathi Sixabayi. I play for Stellenbosch. My position is left wing back.
The Stellenbosch Football Club is one of the amazing clubs that is doing very well in the PSL at the moment.
High-performance sports people are more likely to experience divorce. They're more likely to experience dependency on drugs, alcohol, gambling. So I heard about Fathers Matter and could immediately see that it would fit into our More Than Football program. In each of the sessions, we'd watch the film and then they'd be split into groups with some guided questions, and then we'd come back and have a conversation.
The films kind of ignited a lot of memories for them. The films triggered a lot of issues that they had to deal with in their own lives about their own journeys with their fathers.
I don't know much about my father. He's a policeman. I've met him a few times.
My father has been present, like, he's my role model, basically. Yeah. My father was very important to me because he is the one who actually was motivating me to go play football at the high level.
As a father, you don't have to be rich as long as you're there for your child.
Fathers Matters program was a great help for me in my pursuit to becoming a father one day.
Yeah, so basically engaging the church and saying the church, you can be anywhere. You are needed. And that's why we did those programs. And we then have these connect groups, Fathers Matter offering, more like the dad talks as well. We've got these connect groups, that 5-week program that we can take you through. Yes. And we've developed these resources. Yeah, we've got these few things: connect groups, videos and articles, discussion starters, tips for dads, and the Facebook page, the Six Films. Then we've got this WhatsApp number now where fathers, because fathers are looking for skills. You press that number, you sign up, and it gives you tips on any question that you can ask about fathering. It actually asks you the age group of your child, and it helps you. It gives you guidance in terms of whatever questions you might have. And obviously it's one of the ways in which we are equipping fathers in order for them to really play a significant role, because as we say, a lot of fathers don't know how to engage. Fathers Matter, church committed to promoting, this is a Fathers Matter church. We are raising more Fathers Matter churches that are committed to promoting active, positive men in the lives of children. Let's go back quickly. So, and then receive regular updates, run connect groups, and also run workshops. We're running workshops, and we engage with men in those workshops. Believe you me, I'm actually having a workshop this afternoon. In every workshop, it's amazing how men talk. And suddenly you hear stories, people break down, and this becomes a healing space. So there's a lot of wounds, there's a lot of hurt that is sitting in the church, and we are not engaging with that hurt. We're not engaging with that pain, and we say the time has come for us to engage with that pain. I mean, my own story, being rejected by my own father and denied basically by my own father, and eventually creating a relationship with my father in my life has been an amazing journey. And we're saying the church must start engaging with this subject, because if we don't engage with this subject, then we are likely to see a chaotic society. And hence we run workshops and we give the platform for men to talk. Let's talk about your own father's journey. If I had to ask inside this room or even wherever you're watching, what is your story? Yes, you know my name, but you know my story. And most of the time, the stories, especially about fathers, is not a pleasant one. And we're saying the time for that conversation to happen has come. Let's have those conversations. Let's run the workshops. Let's talk about what's happening. But also, let's come up with solutions, because we're saying this is a risk factor, but not a sentence. In other words, we can change and turn things around. And so it's important to say to the fathers, you matter. But it's also important for us to say to society, fathers do matter. Because if you ask the question, I was in George and I asked this question to grade 12s, 150 of them, grade 12s. I asked this question, do mothers matter? Immediately, yes, mothers matter. Do fathers matter? Only 20 of them lifted up their hands. These are your grade 12s. So which means in their minds that even men, actually majority of them were boys who did not raise their hands, who said, fathers don't matter. So very important that we engage with this, and especially as a church, in saying, let's bring back the fathers in the life of children. I say at church, if there is a man in our church, it doesn't matter how you lived your life before, and if you have a child that you're not taking care of, we want to talk to you. It starts there. Taking responsibility. People are given platforms to preach and do things. But where are their children? How are they at home? Because being a father, because there's three types of people. There is the absent father, as I mentioned, completely absent, physically, ran away, passed away. But there's also fathers who are present in their home but absent emotionally. And we don't talk about that father. And I think if you hear from Ben's story, here is a man who was doing very well everywhere else, but battling. And we don't engage in that space. And you say, fathers matter, we need to start engaging. And yeah. The last one, I think that's it. Promoting the active presence. That's where our resources, you'll find our resources there. And you'll be able to download anything that you can. So I can give this moment just for questions and answers. Q&A. Thank you. Yes. No, nationally. We've got representative nationally. So if you're in Durban, we've got people in Durban. If you're in Joburg, we've got people in Joburg, Limpopo, Northwest, Free State, here in Cape Town, George, we just did Knysna, George, Blatt, Eastern Cape. So we represented nationally, and we come and run the workshops with you as a church. Thank you for that question. Any other questions? Oh, yes. So when you in the black culture, when you impregnate a woman, there is a cost to it. So you pay damages to that family because they had expectation of their daughter, and so you've broken those expectations. Either she was studying or whatever the case might be. So as a way of apologizing to that family, you need to go and pay a certain amount. It varies. It can be a whole cow, and the cow costs about 15,000. You are not allowed to see the child until you pay the damages. Even when you're married. I know, if you're married, obviously there's no damages because then you need to pay lobola before you get married. And lobola, which is one of the hindrances in terms of people getting married, because lobola, if we're talking 10 cows, right? 15,000 per cow. Calculate. So there's a lot of cultural issues that are just hindrances to fathers being involved, being present. And you see this young couple, even with the whole issue of cohabitation, people living together, it's cheaper if you live together without paying lobola. So there are all these dynamics, and we're engaging with leaders and saying, let's talk about this. And some of the families have actually made changes. I remember one grandfather who was in one of our workshops, he said, oh, I've not been allowing this boy to come and see his child. So from today, he must come and see his child. One child's life was transformed by just one workshop. You see what I mean? And that's why we're saying as a church, we need to go out there. We need to begin to engage with people. People are waiting for us. That's what I discovered. I mean, when I work with these bikers, these guys, they didn't even know that I'm a pastor. You know, all they wanted was to engage, and look at how they began to play with children and just had a wonderful time. They did something that is called Ride with a Boy. And so they took these boys on their bikes. Absolutely amazing. Took these boys on their bikes, and they did some charity work in the community because they wanted to be social fathers. And from today, they are saying, we are going to work with you. Whatever we do, you must be there because we want to make a positive impact in the community. All right, I think my time is up. Thank you.